Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the hidden forces that shape pretty much everything we do: our decisions, our beliefs, even our hairstyles. Let's dive in and see what's really pulling the strings.
You know that feeling, right? Where you make a choice, but some little part of you wonders, was that really my choice? It's this nagging sense that something, or maybe someone, was guiding your hand.
Well, you're not wrong to feel that way. Those strings are absolutely real. They're part of a powerful psychological force called social influence, and it is at work on all of us, all the time, whether we realize it or not.
So, what are we talking about here exactly? Social influence is basically this huge umbrella term for all the ways other people affect us. It can be super subtle, like feeling the need to whisper in a library just because everyone else is, or it can be as direct as following a command. It's the engine behind peer pressure, fashion trends, you name it. So, we're going to break this all down into 3 different levels of intensity. We're going to start with that gentle, everyday nudge to fit in, then move to the art of getting someone to say yes, and we'll finish up with the truly shocking power of a direct command. All right, level 1, conformity. This is probably the most common type of social influence we deal with every single day. It's all about that deep, deep human need to belong. At its core, conformity is just changing how you act or what you believe because of pressure from other people. And that pressure doesn't even have to be spoken out loud. Think about fashion trends. One year, everybody's got a side part, the next, it's a middle part. Nobody sends out a memo, right? The norm just shifts, and most of us, well, we shift right along with it. So why do we do it? Well, psychologists say it boils down to 2 main drivers. You can think of it like a battle between your head and your heart. Your head wants to be right. That's informational influence. Like when you're in a new situation, you look around to see what everyone else is doing for clues. But your heart? Your heart wants to be liked, and that's normative influence. This is that powerful gut-level fear of looking stupid or being the odd one out. Let me show you what I mean with a really simple test. Take a look at this. You've got a target line on the left. Which of the 3 lines on the right, A, B, or C, is the same length? Come on, the answer is obviously B. It's not a trick question. Super simple. Okay, now imagine you're in a room with 7 other people. The experimenter asks the first person, and they confidently say A. Then the second person says A. Then the third, the fourth, the fifth, all of them say A. Now it's your turn. The evidence of your own 2 eyes is screaming that the answer is B, but the entire group just said A. What do you do? This right here was the setup for the famous Osh conformity experiments. And the results, they were absolutely mind-blowing. A full 75% of participants caved to the group pressure and gave the obviously wrong answer at least one time. That's the sheer power of normative influence. That desire not to rock the boat is so strong, it can literally make us deny what we're seeing. But here's the cool part. Ash also found a simple way to break the spell. See, when the group was unanimous, conformity was through the roof. But check out what happens when just one other person in that group, an ally, gives the correct answer. The conformity rates just plummet. It just goes to show having even one person in your corner can give you the courage you need to stand up for what you know is right. Okay, let's level up. We're moving on from that unspoken pressure of conformity and into the world of direct requests. This is level 2, compliance. It's the science of getting people to say yes. Compliance is what happens anytime someone makes an explicit request of you. Can you do me a favor? Will you donate to this cause? Hey, will you buy this? Unlike conformity, this isn't about guessing what the group wants, it's a direct ask. And you better believe there are specific, well-tested techniques to make that yes way more likely. First up is a classic, the foot in the door technique. This one plays on our deep need to be consistent with ourselves. You start with a tiny request, something you know they'll agree to, like, hey, will you sign this petition? Easy yes. Well, once they do that, their self-image shifts just a little. They start to see themselves as the kind of person who cares about this issue. So when you come back later with your real, bigger request, like asking for a donation, they're way more likely to say yes again, just to stay consistent with that new identity. And then you have the complete opposite, the door in the face technique. This one works because of our social norm of reciprocity. You start with a ridiculously huge request, one you know they'll say no to. Will you volunteer 10 hours a week for the next year? Of course not. But when they say no, you immediately back down and make a concession. Oh, okay, well, how about just a one-time donation of $20? See, because you gave something up, they feel this subtle pressure to meet you in the middle and agree. It's a very clever psychological dance.
And now we arrive at our final and by far the most intense level of social influence: obedience. This is what happens when that request stops being a request and becomes a command given by someone who has power over you. The most famous and honestly the most disturbing study of obedience came from Stanley Milgram's experiments back in the 60s. So people were told they were in a learning study. They were instructed by an experimenter in a lab coat to give electric shocks to another person every time they got an answer wrong. Now, the person getting shocked was an actor, and the shocks weren't real, but the participant didn't know that. The whole point was to put ordinary people in an impossible situation, choose between their own conscience and the direct orders of an authority figure. As the shocks got stronger, the actor would scream, complain about a heart condition, and eventually just go silent. And whenever the participant would hesitate, the experimenter would just calmly but firmly say things like this. No yelling, no threats, just a simple, authoritative statement that the experiment had to continue. Now, a huge reason so many people kept going was because of how it was structured. Each shock was just a tiny 15-volt increase from the last one. This creates a really dangerous slippery slope. It's so easy to justify just one more small step, but before you know it, all those little steps have taken you somewhere you never, ever thought you'd go. And this is the number that has haunted psychology for decades. Almost 2/3, 62.5%, of normal, everyday people, just like you and me, obeyed the experimenter all the way to the end, delivering what they thought was a 450-volt shock. It's just a chilling reminder of how powerful the pressure from authority can be. So after all that, after seeing the power of conformity, compliance, and obedience, you've got to be asking, are we all just puppets? Well, the answer is no. By understanding these forces, we can actually learn how to fight back. So, how do we do it? Well, first, remember that Ash experiment. To break the spell of the group, find an ally. Even one person on your side makes a world of difference. Second, when you're dealing with an authority figure, ask questions. Are they a real expert, or are they just wearing a uniform? Third, watch out for that slippery slope. Recognize when someone is leading you down a path of tiny yeses. And finally, remember the simplest, most powerful tool you have: the freedom to just say no. You can always hit the pause button and make a decision on your own time. Look, we're all swimming in these social currents every day, but being aware of them is the first step toward reclaiming your own autonomy. It turns you from just a passive subject into an active observer of your own life. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know, what invisible string will you notice and maybe even decide to cut tomorrow?